Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing a lesson demonstration. This lesson was inspired by one of my favorite books. It's The Kissing Hand by Audrey Penn. It's a wonderful story about a little raccoon who's going away to school for the very first time, and he is of course very nervous. So his mother shares with him a family secret to ease his anxiety, and it is called the kissing hand. So today I am going to be showing you how to make a kissing hand out of clay. This lesson, however, is easily adaptable for different types of materials as well. If you don't have a kiln, you could easily do it with air dry clay. You could also try to change this lesson a little bit and do it as a paper craft activity. So it's easily adaptable depending on what materials you have available to you. It's a wonderful lesson, and I highly suggest reading the book to your students. It's a great story. So if you want to know how to create the kissing hand out of clay, just keep watching. For this lesson, I am using clay that does need a kiln. However, like I said, you could totally use air dry clay and it would look just as amazing. If you only have paper, go ahead and use paper. Use anything that you have available to you. It would work and have the same message for your students. So for this activity, I did use, like I said, clay. I also used tempera paint. I used a toothpick to help shape the clay, and I used an old toothbrush in water to attach the clay pieces to one another. I also have a little trick, and that is instead of putting it back in the kiln and doing a glaze, I use this guy. This is Rust-Oleum's Triple Thick Glaze Clear Glass-like coating, high gloss finish. It's non-yellowing. It is fast drying. What I've been doing for my clay projects is I have been using either watercolor or tempera paint, and I've been putting this on top. And it not only makes it so much brighter, but it creates a beautiful gloss glaze on top without having to fill up my kiln and run a kiln cycle again. So it's saving so much time. Now I will say you do need to go outside to do this. It is a very strong scent. It's just like any kind of spray paint. You would want to do it outside of your classroom. But if you also don't have a kiln and you want a finished, polished look on something that your students are making, pick some of this up. It's not crazy expensive, and it saves so much time, and it makes things look so great. So again, it's Rust-Oleum Triple Thick Glaze, and I got it just at Lowe's. Okay guys, so this lesson took us about 2 classes. It was 1 class of wet clay. I put it through the kiln, and then the next time I saw my students, we painted them. And then after that, they got it back and we packaged it up. So it was 2 work periods. Now I see my students for 40 minutes, so that might vary depending on your class time. But yeah, for us, it took 2 40-minute classes. Hello artists! Today we are going to be creating a kissing hand similar to Chester's from the story The Kissing Hand. Ours will be made out of clay, and it would make the perfect gift for a family member or friend to remind them how much we love them. First, you are going to get a slab of clay at your seat. So a slab of clay is just a piece of clay that has been rolled out flat. You are going to want to lay your hand gently onto the clay, and then have a friend take a toothpick or a stick and trace carefully around your hand. Now your friend is not going to want to push down all the way to the mat or the table. Instead, they want to just trace around just enough to leave a mark on the clay. You don't want to push down and cut. We're just drawing. When you lift your hand up, you should see your handprint drawn out on the clay. Now if there's something that you don't like, clay is easy to fix if you make a mistake. Okay, so you're just going to want to smear your hand over anything that you think you messed up and then do it again. But since I really like my handprint, I'm going to leave it as it is. Now I would do my friend's hand for them, and then when I'm done, I would take my toothpick again, but this time I would push down all the way to the mat and drag it across that line. And this time I'm actually cutting out my hand. Now you don't want your fingers to be too thin. So make sure before you cut it out that your finger is not really, really thin. This was my original line, but I actually went outside of it because I thought that would be maybe too small for a finger. So I'm just going to smear that line away. Now after I have cut it out, I can kind of rip the clay to peel around it, kind of like I'm cutting out a cookie. You want to save this extra clay because we'll need this for the next step. So just put that to the side. Once my hand is cut out, I can now take my finger and kind of smooth out the edges a little bit to make it look really nice. When you cut something out of clay, it kind of leaves some little balls of clay and it leaves a rough edge. So we want to smooth everything out. Now the next step is to make this hand look more like this. Okay, this is the I love you symbol in sign language. This is how you say I love you in sign language. So we want to create that with this hand too. Now this hand has the thumb over on this side, my pinky on this side. So I want to create that I love you symbol. So what I would do is take the finger closest to my pinky and put that down and then put the next one down. So I need to create that with my clay. What I would want to do is the same thing, just very gently, because clay can break and crack if we're not careful. Okay, so now I have those fingers down, but they won't stay like that if I don't attach them. I need to do what's called slipping and scoring. Slipping and scoring is when you add watery clay or just water and you scratch for the scoring. And that is what attaches two pieces of clay, pushes them together so that they can't fall back apart when they dry. Okay, it's kind of like clay glue. So what you want to do, I'm going to mark kind of where those little fingers touch, gently lift them back up. Take my toothbrush, which actually adds the watery clay and scratches it at the same time, which is really nice. And then I'm going to scratch, slip and score those spots. It is not going to look pretty yet. We will make it smooth and nice after we attach these. And then I'm going to bring those fingers back down, press a little bit. If you press too much, you're going to get a flat hand and some flat fingers. So you just want to add a little bit of pressure. Okay, now's the time I can take my finger and really smooth the hand out. I could even dip it into the water. Now you don't want too much water. Clay, when it has too much water, becomes really wet, really muddy, and you can't do much with it. So we just want to add a little bit, just enough to smooth everything out. Alright, boys and girls, my hand is all smoothed and ready to go on to the next step. The next step of our hand is the heart. That is what makes it a kissing hand. So what I need to do next is take a piece of clay. I'm just going to take a little piece from the scraps that I had from before, and I want to roll it into a ball. Once you have that, you can take the palm of your hand, where we're actually going to put the heart on our other hand, and you want to take your palm and press down to make kind of like a pancake shape. It's kind of like a circular slab we just created. We don't want it too thin because it would be too hard to attach, but we also don't want it really thick either. Once you have that, you're going to draw a heart on the circle. Now the heart should have a sharp V shape at the bottom, so I'm going to draw that in there. And then it's an upside down letter 3, or number 3, not letter 3, number 3. All right, if you like the heart, you're going to do the same thing you did with the hand. And the second time around, you're actually going to push all the way down to cut out the heart from your scraps like a cookie. If you had a heart cookie cutter, it would work also. So now I'm going to smooth this heart out a little bit. Remember not to add too much water. And I think he's ready to attach. So we know we need to slip and score to attach our clay. So I'm going to take that toothbrush, I'm going to scratch where I want to put it. Kind of make sure it's the right size. You don't want the heart so big that it's covering your fingers. And I'm going to scratch the heart a little bit too. And add a little bit of pressure, not a lot of pressure because we don't want a flat heart. And then you can shape it a little more to how you want it to look. But I think that's about done. Now if you wanted to go in and maybe add some fingernails or something, or details to the hand, you could, or you could just leave it as it is. But once everything's all smoothed out, you made sure you slip and scored, you are ready for your clay to dry out and be put in the kiln. Now when it gets back from the kiln, that is when we can start the next step, which is to paint our hands. Hello artists, welcome back, and today we are going to be painting our kissing hand. It has now come out of the kiln. It is now hard and fragile, so you want to be careful with these and you want to carry them with 2 hands. Today we need to paint the actual hand, the skin area, and we need to paint our heart to make our kissing hand. So before we start, I want to talk to you a little bit about painting the skin tone. Our skin is very different from everybody else's skin. If you would hold your arm up to all of the friends at your table, you would notice that everybody's skin tone is slightly different. I have what's called an olive skin tone because it's almost like a yellowish green little bit of color in my skin. Other people might be a little paler, some might be a little more tanner. It just depends on what skin you have, what you paint you would want to use, okay? Everybody's skin is going to look a little bit different because we are all unique. That's what's going to make these kissing hands so amazing. So you are going to be getting yellow, red, and pink, white, brown, and black. And you may not use all of them depending on what your skin looks like. So I'm going to start by taking a little paint at a time to the center and mixing it to try to get my skin tone color. Now if it's not exact, that is okay. You just want to try to get it as close as you can. I'm going to start with a little bit of brown, and you really do want to take just a little at a time, especially with colors like brown and black because they tend to be really strong colors and you only need a little bit. So I'll take my brown, I'm going to take some white and mix that up. Okay, now what do you guys think? Is that too light or too dark? I would say that is way too light. So I'm going to add a little more brown. And, that's a little too reddish of a tone for me. Maybe if I add some yellow, that will make it look more like my skin tone. Oh, maybe I add a little too much yellow. What do you think? I'm going to add some more white. And you just keep doing this slowly. You don't want to add too much paint and waste it. You just want to add very slowly until you get the color that you think is about your skin tone. It might take you a little bit, but if you add slowly, you'll get it eventually. Okay, I think that is pretty close to my skin color. I'm going to take my paint and start painting my hand. Now I'm going to want to make sure I get the sides of my hand also. Alright, boys and girls, so my hand is painted. I made sure to paint the sides. I was really careful when I picked up my hand to get to the sides. Now, if you are having a hard time getting into little cracks or around your fingers, a trick is to dip your brush in water, and by adding that water, it spreads the paint around, and the watery paint then runs into the clay, kind of like a river, and it fills in all of those gaps, so then you won't end up with any white spots. Now that that is complete, I'm ready to rinse my brush really well, and I'm going to add some colors for my heart. Now I think I'm going to go with a traditional color heart, like a red and a pink, but if you want to use the yellow for the heart, you could do that too. But I really think I'm going to like the red and the pink, especially because this is also a great little gift if it's around Valentine's Day. All right, there is my finished kissing hand. So now this has to dry, and then what I'll do is spray it with a very shiny, pretty gloss that will make it nice and bright and shiny and ready to go home. Alright guys, that's it. Thank you so much for watching this lesson demonstration. I hope you enjoyed it. If you decide to do this with your students, I would love to see your progress. Whether you do it with air dry clay or paper, it doesn't matter. I want to see what you create. So go ahead and comment below or tag me on my Instagram. My Instagram name is miss.creative scribbles. I would love to see what you and your students create using the Kissing Hand and the lovely book Kissing Hand by Audrey Penn. If you'd like to see more lesson demonstration, teacher vlogs, and teacher talks, go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications. Also, like this video and comment. I'll catch you guys in another one. Bye.